So this is the ABC company, the Aerated Bread Company, which I just think is a cool name anyway. It was a British company, and it was a bread company, and it was founded in 1862 by Dr. John Dawlish. I think that's how you pronounce it. Dawlish.
I think so.
Dawlish was thoroughly unimpressed by Scottish bread.
Yes, of the day.
The day. So he earned his medical degree at Edinburgh, and he began to make his own. And he studied the science associated with the process. And he applied his early studies in chemistry to the process of bread making, which is just crazy.
I know.
He determined that it was possible to produce carbonic acid gas in bread without yeast. Doesn't sound very appetising,
No,
does
it doesn't. So he figured out that it would be possible to produce carbonic acid in the gas without yeast, which is how previously it was done. And he figured out instead that you could introduce carbon dioxide to the process by dissolving it in water, and that would eliminate the need for fermentation, which then meant that it dramatically reduced the need for physical contact with the dough on the part of the workers, which would consequently introduce a greater level of cleanliness into the bread-making process, because Dawlish sought to abolish manual kneading, which he believed was unclean and unhealthy. A couple of years later, in 1878, the scientific journal Nature reported,
As to the perfect cleanliness of this mechanical process for making bread, there can be no question. It is immeasurably superior to the barbarous and old, but as Dr. Richardson remarked, not time-honoured system of kneading dough by the hands and feet of the workman.
the idea that they used to knead their bread with feet just is, I'm not surprised that some cleanly, sort of obsessed chemist came along and was like, let's see if we can figure out a better way to do this.
Yeah.
Dawlish presented a paper on his new method to the Royal Society of Arts and received a silver medal.
Dawlish's method was endorsed from various Victorian-era physicians and sanitarians, helping to further cement the future success of his endeavour. It was considered healthy bread. It was therefore introduced into many hospitals.
And then in 1862, the Aerated Bread Company, ABC, was set up. Their first bakery was in Islington in London, and in the late Victorian era, the Dawlish method was considered the superior system by which to mass-produce bread. And Benjamin Ward Richardson, who was later a director of the company, who again was a British physician, anaesthetist, physiologist, sanitarian, and prolific writer of medical history, so again, another medical man that somehow got involved in the bread industry, wrote in his memoir,
I am convinced, from careful and prolonged observation, that the Dawlish method of bread manufacture is on the whole the best that has been discovered. It is the cleanliest of all processes known, and followed, it calls for less drudgery, and it is not unjust to say less objectionable labour. From the employed in bread manufacture, it inflicts less arduous toil, and so lessens the rapid wearing away of the body, which is an unfortunate fate of many of those who are engaged in the manufacture of the staff of life. It supplies a purer article to those who depend largely upon the staff of life for their daily ailment. Lastly, it supplies a better article, one which gives to the public the fullest food value that can be got out of the corn, i.e. wheat, from which the food is made, and which enables the manufacture of all kinds of flour or meal, white meal, mixed meal, wholemeal, to be the most completely and most easily produced.
And then as early as 1863, pure aerated grain bread was receiving recommendations as far away as New York. But after 4 years, Dawlish's health worsened, and it's been said this was due to the labour and excitement involved, which I think is kind of beautiful, as unfortunate as it was.
Yeah.
And he died in 1866.
The company carried on.
Yes, for well over a century.
And then it moves into
so you might be wondering why we've got a Sherd for a bread company, a bakery. It's not from a bakery. It is from one of their tea shops. And this is where as interesting, this is Wikipedia. We got excited because it said tea shops and early women's issues. So they started a chain of self-service ABC tea shops. And they opened a tea room in the courtyard of London's Fenchurch Street railway station in 1864, 2 years after the company was founded. And it had started by the London-based manager of the ABC. He'd been serving free tea and snacks to customers, and he was like, hey, why don't we open a tea shop? But where it gets really cool...
The tea rooms provided one of the first public places where women in the Victorian era could eat a meal alone or with women friends, without a male escort. In 1880, unescorted women could visit high-end restaurants. They had to avoid the bar. In at least one instance, a women's social club was held directly above an ABC tea shop.
So it says, the new Somerville Club, close to Oxford Circus, was located over an Aerated Bread Company shop. And, notwithstanding the complaint that the female employees of that company do not participate in the vast profits of the undertaking, which we have to talk about, the members of the Somerville get meals from the Aerated Bread shop sent up to the general room above, a bright and very prettily furnished apartment. Men are admitted to this club as guests. It was a concern that the female employees were not sharing in the company's profits, and it was even referred to as a gross case of company inhumanity. But in 1895, the general meeting of the company, Dr. Richardson, who we've spoken about, proposed, and another doctor, also a director, Dr. Furnivall, all doctors, seconded, giving the girls employed by the company some additional advantages. The physicians felt that if the company did not give them one meal a day, they were a mean and shabby lot. And the board chairman felt that the company had made great strides in that area, as they were already giving the employees one meal a day, providing a hot dinner at a nominal price, and not a girl went into the company's service now who did not receive 10 shillings a week. The tea shops of the Victorian era were recommended as safe havens for unescorted women to the delegates of the Congress of the International Council of Women held in London at the week ending 9th of July 1899. So, yeah, they became somewhere where women could go
and feel safe
and just be themselves and not needing escorts. And I think it's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
Some other interesting things about ABC's tea rooms. In 1919, a diner at an ABC shop in Sydney, Australia, filed a claim against ABC for £1,000, claiming that she'd eaten a pie that contained a mouse. It was revealed to have been a false claim, and the court found for ABC.
At its peak in 1923, ABC had 150 branch shops in London and 250 tea shops, and was second in terms of outlets only to J. Lyons and Co., and they made tea to start with. They were named by so many
famous people. So George Orwell viewed ABC Tea Shop as the sinister strand in English catering, the relentless industrialisation that was overtaking it. Everything comes out of a carton or a tin, or is hauled out of a refrigerator, or squirted out of a tap, or squeezed out of a tube. So I imagine George Orwell probably wouldn't have been a fan of, say, Starbucks.
Yes. or anywhere now.
Yes. George Bernard Shaw frequented ABC's tea shops, and his diaries talk a lot about him being in tea shops a lot. So one such entry is for the 12th of December 1888 to the Aerated Bread shop opposite the Mansion House station, and had some eggs and chocolate there. He goes there a lot. Agatha Christie, her espionage thriller of 1922, The Secret Adversary, is her character Tommy Beresford is held captured by a spy ring. Upon escaping, the first thing Tommy does is head to an ABC tea shop for sustenance.
First of all, he must have a square meal. He had eaten nothing since midday yesterday. He turned into an ABC shop and ordered eggs and bacon and coffee. Whilst he ate, he read a morning paper propped up in front of him.
T.S. Eliot wrote a poem in 1917, and in it he asks, "Where are the eagles and the trumpets?" His answer:
"Buried beneath some snow-deep Alps, over buttered scones and crumpets, weeping, weeping multitudes, drooping 100 ABCs.
Graham Greene, The End of the Affair. Twice the narrator Maurice Bendix visits an ABC. He meets with a detective, Mr. Parkes, who had met me by appointment in an ABC. It was his own suggestion, as he had the boy with him and couldn't take him into a bar. And then he goes to try and find his lover.
A.A. Milne.
Not that he wrote a collection of essays, and I just think the end of this is genius.
Tea at ABC, where I met the Duke of... Fell into the Thames on my way home, but swam ashore without difficulty."
which I think is great. Dracula by Bram Stoker. Jonathan Harker recalls stopping at the Aerated Bread Company for a cup of tea after having spent the afternoon searching for Count Dracula's lair.
It was now dark, and I was tired and hungry. I got a cup of tea at the Aerated Bread Company and came down to Purfleet by the next train.
Night and Day, Virginia Woolf. Jacob's Room, Virginia Woolf. Both times writes about an ABC shop. H.G. Wells.
P.G. Wodehouse.
Yeah, there's just... Oh yeah, you should read the P.G. Wodehouse one.
The boy who smokes at school will degenerate gradually into a person that plays dominoes in the smoking room of ABC shops with friends who wear bowler hats and frock coats.
So, yeah, so many famous people. Yeah, you'd think if they'd written about them, at one point they would have been in an aerated bread shop.
So
and this is definitely from a London one, and it's verified. So, who knows who could have enjoyed is it a cup or...
Agatha Christie may have drunk from that cup.
Yes. I mean, yeah. How incredible would that be? Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
What do you think it would have been?
Bowl?
Bowl or a cup? Yeah.
It was a bit wide for a cup.
But yeah, I think it's amazing. So much
Yeah.
incredible history,
tiny,
and the idea that maybe, let's say Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
Crack out of it, shall we? I mean, I imagine they said they had 250 tea shops. I mean, there's no way of knowing which one this is from, but... And we've never seen it before.
No, I have. I think I found a Sherd a long time ago. But I just read it and went, huh, and moved on.
Okay. That's why I love Sherd stories. We're learning.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I mean, this is the best Sherd so far. I mean,
I think so, yes.
It's crazy, all that history in that tiny little piece. It was a good day.
It was a very good day. We hope you enjoyed. Bye.
Bye.